Thank you, love bug.
Okay.
My God, my head is as wide as it is long.
You look great. You look great.
Oh,
Absolutely perfect. So good to see you, my friend. So good
it's
to
good
see
to
you.
see you.
And it's such an important topic that we're talking about today. And I wanted to share that with you that it is, there's been so much that's been going on, and it's been a powerful time period. And I have been really like struggling with so much of the challenges between the constant inundation of the news with the lack of accountability and responsibility in regards to the Epstein case and the trauma and the victims that are involved. And I said, I want to hold safe space to my community. I wrote a couple emails to my community, and the responses I got were overwhelming. They were just amazing responses, and people feeling this this, just with disgust, anger, triggered, freezing, like incapacity, and in so many ways. And I just want to create a safe space for people to talk. And as I was thinking about this, I was like, there is no one better than Helene Burke to bring this safe container and clarity into this discussion. So I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Hope I could help.
You can definitely help. So for my audience, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Anna Kabeka, triple board certified OBGYN and women's health expert. One of the areas that I've really focused in over the years is intimacy and sexual health. And this area and this news is a vulnerable area for absolutely everyone. I wanted to share with you Helene Burke, who was my guest today, and a brilliant woman, a brilliant friend, and a leader in her field. And she is a licensed professional counselor. She has over 20 years of progressive experience delivering individual, family, and group therapy across diverse clinical populations. She has proven expertise in leadership and supervision and a strong, very strong background in trauma informed care, behavioral interventions, and community based treatments. So, welcome, Helene,
Hi.
to my audience, and I'm so glad you're here. What are you seeing happening in this space, in this time, and now as the release of the Epstein files implicating even prominent medical professionals? It's a devastating reminder of the corruption that's been concealed for far too long, right?
It's not news that there's misogyny and that folks with power often or can more availably access things that are not appropriate, can conceal things that are not appropriate. The onus on victim shaming, the victim blaming, the media coverage that's in your face 24/7 is a lot for anyone to take in, yet alone for folks who have been triggered by other power dynamic issues. And power dynamics are not just sexual dynamics, they're financial dynamics, they're emotional dynamics. Yes, sexual harassment is bad, but there's other forms of harassment in the workplace that are bad as well. It's a differential of power that goes unanswered. When you have this in your face 24/7, when you're on social media and then you're on regular media, you are bombarded. You don't have the power to stop what the media presents. What you do have the power to do is to be selective in what you take in. I think it's okay to put yourself on a bit of a media diet. Be selective in what you spend your screen time on. Be selective in how your body is responding. Because when you're re-witnessing the same old over and over again, reminding you that life is not fair, life is not just, bad things happen, and you are vulnerable at times. Your body goes through that fight flight cycle, and it does not respond well to it. It goes through it as if you are actually in physical danger in that moment. That can trigger a lot of body chemistry issues, as you well know.
Well, and also one of the big things is triggering past trauma, past sexual assault, things that were buried for a long time. I know from writing to my community, some of the response I received was that, I never told anyone this abuse I had at school, or I never, like things that have been buried for so long. And this time, it's coming up and being relived. And so understanding how we now pass through this release to the best of our ability trauma. And I still think you tell me, but speak it, hold accountable and, heal yourself. Like it is critical during this time, at any age, even if it was 50 years ago.
Absolutely. Not everyone needs to risk vicarious traumatization of a friend. Not everyone needs to delve into each detail of their own experience. But they do need to have a trusted person in the room with them who they can sit with, who can hear them, who can be witness to their pain, and can give them the support and the kindness, and who can challenge their self-blame. One of the big problems in having been victimized is feeling like something becomes wrong about you, or that you're damaged in some way. Are you affected? Absolutely. Are you damaged? No. You're still there. You may just have to adjust your boundaries around safety, around self-worth, around tolerance, around self-acceptance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So thinking about if you're in this situation and it's weighing on you, it's heavy on you, how do you even initiate a conversation with a safe friend?
Well, I would start with a therapist, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because, hey, I do therapy. No.
Yeah, no.
A person who has been trained in trauma-informed care.
Okay, explain that. Define trauma-informed care. How is that?
Okay. Wow. It's someone who has taken above and beyond training in the effects of trauma on the human body, on the human psyche, who will recognize that certain behaviors are links back to trying to survive or come to terms with traumatic material in the past, who will not, I hate to say it, but who will not poke at too much and will maybe even slow the process so that it doesn't overwhelm and re-traumatize a person who has been through trauma. So finding someone who is a trauma-informed, competent provider and can steer you to what methods are going to be important for you. There's EMDR, there's parts work, there's all sorts of theories and formulas of ways to deliver, but it's got to be suited for the individual. And a trauma-informed provider can help with selecting that. They can then coach you who to trust, who you want to reach out to first, how you want to educate that person to be a good support to you. They will have ideas for how to physically and emotionally release the pain, the rage, the sadness, the helplessness, the hopelessness that can all be feelings that come from these experiences. We are all vulnerable on some level. You can control how much of that vulnerability you open up and to whom. And that's part of what a good therapist will help you to discover for you. Talk therapy is wonderful. Group therapy is wonderful. There are some people that if you tell them to go to group therapy, will tell you where to go to. And that's not helpful. Some people need to be in a contained space, one-on-one therapy. Some people need to be in a reaffirming space, group therapy, support groups where other people can mirror, reflect, and say, hey, you are not alone. Some people are not ready for that or do not wish that. Every family system is different. Every person going into therapy is different.
Well, and a key area too is somatic therapy. Right?
Yes.
Like being able to, can you talk about that? And I think about somatic therapy, and I remember too, because you were a ballerina for so many years, right? And
yeah.
dance and yeah. So I'd love to talk about somatic therapy, because I think especially for women, it's that, freedom of body expression can be so therapeutic and healing.
Yes.
Especially after trauma.
Somatic therapy is a way of tying the mind-body connection together and finding where in your body you're holding those stressors, those memories. People get triggered by doing something that is an everyday event for everyone else, and all of a sudden they're like, ooh, that felt bad. And it's because it's tying back physically to a memory. Mm-hmm. With somatic therapists, they reach back into those memories and experiences. When you started getting upset in the car today, what was on your mind and where did you feel that in your body and how did it feel in your body? And exploring all the ways to kind of release that, move it around, get familiar with it, move your body, get yourself comfortable and centered within your own skin. And it's not easy. It's not a quick process. However long that's been since trauma is how long you've been practicing doing it in a way that holds the trauma. The next step is to release it and move beyond it.
Well, have you found that in being in perimenopause, menopausal time period, there's a almost like I give the example of the lid of your pressure cooker of your life flying off. Like this is the time when we become really vulnerable. Our neuroendocrine system is really vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And so there's this things that you may have successfully, had, buried down deep or put aside for so long. All of a sudden they're in our thoughts, in our minds, and increasing anxiety, depression, psychoses even. I mean, so I would love to talk with you about this because it's this stage of neuroendocrine vulnerability. And, there's more than one answer. And
yeah, there is. For a lot of people at this stage in life, when menopause hits, it's also a time when all the children they've been raising or caring for are scattered to the four winds,
not yet, but
making their own life, doing the things.
Yeah.
There are more than enough opportunities to watch people you love and care about do the same things you wish you hadn't. Mm-hmm. All the lists in your mind of, oh, if only I hadn't done that. And yet it's not yours to tell someone else how to live. And so sitting with that and knowing what is and isn't your role, your place, can also be difficult to take in and hold. It's also a time when we realize just how much different or in line, if you're lucky, your goals in your life were to how you've come to live your life. The partners that you've chosen, the friends that you have, the way you've taken care of your health and well-being. Menopause makes you physically more vulnerable. It also makes you recognize that things are in different places than where they started out, and they're not always where you'd like them. They're not always as stretchy as you once liked. It's hard to be flexible outside and inside, and menopause is not your friend in that. So hormone replacement can help. Healthy eating can help. Staying hydrated can help. on top of your health. People manage their children's health, their spouse's health, their this, their that. Manage your own. Pay attention to yourself. Be kind. If you wouldn't say it to a small child in your care, stop saying it to yourself in your head. You can be your own worst enemy in those situations. And with it constantly in your face because of the media anyway, you need to be your own self space, your own safety, your own little castle within the walls, being able to take care of you.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to be any good to yourself or anyone else.
Well, and I'm coming at this too from having had sexual assault, having 4 daughters, right? Raising 4 daughters and thinking, okay, well, what we see in incredible abuse, right? It's a long time story, but it's like, it's time for it to end. But it's this, how the power dynamics played in, right? How they continue to play in, how the power dynamics played in. So Helene, when we look at this through the lens of inequitable power dynamics, what makes the situations so like psychologically destabilizing?
I think there's a number of things. The first thing that pops into my mind is thinking that we as a society had grown past some of this injustice and marginalizing people and shame blame games. And the reality that a lot of that wasn't acceptable anymore was actually driven underground, not extinguished. That can make a person have some serious doubts about their own perceptions. How did I think that this was different when here it is all over again? And inequity of power, let me pull up, I'll be neutral political here. I'll pull up not only today's politics, but I'll pull up President Clinton. When he had an affair outside of his marriage with a 22-year-old young woman, she took the brunt of the hit. Mm-hmm. She's the one whose life was part of, late night TV jokes for as long as I can think. Mm-hmm. She was the one that people groused about, oh my God, how do I explain her behavior to my children? How about his? How about the person that left a marriage to do these things and then went back to it, acting like it didn't happen? This is not news. This is as old as time, that the shift of power is the one who gets insulated from the consequences.
Right.
The person who has the power, the money, the dynamics, the friends, the whatever, is the one who doesn't have to take the hit. Not right. And if you keep that in your face all the time, you're not going to be all right, because you're going to feel vulnerable and shamed.
So it really compounds the trauma they've experienced.
Indeed. Indeed. And I don't know about you, but I don't know a whole lot of people who are real kind to themselves in all things. I think that's a lifelong journey to make. We've been subject to a lot of self-criticism and criticism of others. We say, oh, we accept, and yet we still judge. Mm-hmm. We inflict values on more than just ourselves. We say it's okay to do this, that, or the other thing, and yet when somebody does it, we shy away from them. That's not acceptance. It's avoidance, and it's unkind. Mm-hmm. When you're unkind to others, it does something to you as well.
And to yourself. And right now, media coverage is replaying events over and over. So how does this reactivate that past trauma physiologically for the victim, for someone else who's been assaulted or has this history of abuse or been in a situation?
It takes you right back into those responses, the adrenaline response, the cortisol for protection, the numbing out of your emotions so that your mind can get through. It's going to make your heart race. It's going to make you feel out of control of your autonomic nervous system because you are. The only part of your autonomic nervous system you control is your breathing. And in those moments when everything else is going, going along with the trauma reaction you're having, it's kind of hard to remember to breathe and to breathe deeply.
When and in my especially when I was at Emory as an OBGYN resident, we had to do rape exams, rape kits, rape exams. And I shared this with you a long time ago, but the youngest rape victim I had to examine was a 2.5-year-old girl.
Yes.
And you think of these things, and this, I hadn't thought about that in years. And of course, all of this brings that trauma back up, and as physicians and thinking about that, and also at Emory and testifying for a couple rape cases, it's the victim that is, they're able to bring up every nitty gritty about the victim. I remember testifying for a rape victim, and the perpetrator, we couldn't bring up 2 prior charges of rape. And we couldn't bring up any of the attorneys couldn't bring up any of that stuff. And yet, like, she was slut shamed and all, it was so traumatizing. And, for her and of course, to feel so helpless in these situations. So there's a couple of things I want to think about. I also thinking about another person that I was doing a rape kit on, and she was sexually assaulted. She wasn't raped, but she had gotten off at the wrong. It was a businesswoman, a young lawyer, and she got off the wrong station in Atlanta. That was when I was working Grady Hospital. She got off the wrong station. Then at gunpoint, she was taken by this, she goes, a young kid. She goes, he couldn't have been 13 years old. And he took her at gunpoint to the ATM, had her withdraw money, and then started assaulting her, his hand down her pants. And she said, I have herpes. And that was like her first response. Like, she didn't have herpes, but that was her first response. And that was just enough to stop what he was doing. And then she came to us and for care. And so think about these things in situations. There's awareness. There's, how, like, what do you tell my daughters? Like, the buddy system, watch your drinks, be, constantly vigilant,
and yet enjoy yourself.
Have fun, feel safe. But so some things to protect yourself, mentally from, or if you're in a situation, what has helped people get out of that situation?
Well, honestly, all you can do is take the best possible care of you. You can not be doing 72 things all at once and getting off at the wrong station. If you were doing good self-care, you would be focused on the environment around you. And if anything looked leery, you'd read the sign before you got out of the car. You wouldn't be distracted, overwhelmed, overstimulated. You'd be attending to what you needed to attend to for safety.
So a big thing is be aware of your surroundings. Look for, again, that awareness. Look for safe spaces.
And look out for yourself. Don't overtax yourself so that you're easy target. If you're paying attention and taking good care of you, you're going to notice things that are not right sooner. Is it any guarantee you won't have an issue? It will not be a guarantee that you will not have an issue.
Yeah.
I never realized how many times I touch my face. My apologies.
So I think, that's a really important piece, is that concept of things we can do, being alert in our environment, but also to, if we do find ourselves in a situation, to yell, I think there's
an old adage.
There's often, the fight, flight, or freeze, right? So freeze is a very common response in a type of assault. So doing self-defense classes, preparing with self-defense classes in those types of situations, so that that becomes a natural, like self-defense becomes a natural response, versus it could still be freeze. And I had my boxing, I do boxing, kickboxing, and all this.
Mm-hmm.
And my old boxing instructor in St. Simon's Island, he was out with his wife, and they got assaulted by a gang, a gang, and he completely,
Mm-hmm.
like, his nervous system just froze, and like he dealt with this trauma of this freeze for so long, because he's a karate and kickboxer, boxing expert, and his nervous system froze because he's
Mm-hmm.
always on the offensive. He knows when he's going to fight. It wasn't when he didn't know that there was going to be a fight. So I think this is such an important point for us to be aware, women and men, girls and boys, moms and dads, raising children, having conversations about the vulnerable situations that we can potentially be put in,
Mm-hmm.
and to rehearse, prepare getting out of those situations. And then
Mm-hmm.
also the conversations, like how many times have, and then especially now, um, reading emails from my community, like, I never told anyone, never told my husband, didn't tell my parents. This piece of internalizing it.
Self-blame, taking a false sense of control by controlling the memory as only yours. It's toxic to your system. It's making you feel more marginalized than you need to.
Mhm.
I don't know what the current rape statistics are, but I know that even 20 years ago, it was like 1 in 3 women.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. I
For
haven't looked them
sexual
up
assault.
lately, dealing with whoever's in front of me and what they're dealing with. Not necessarily that, but in a room full of 30 people, that means a third of the room is likely to have had a similar experience.
Well, and so if someone's watching right now, realizing they've never processed their own experience, what would you gently suggest as a first step?
I would gently suggest that they call their nearest mental health center or call the number on the back of your insurance card. Ask for someone who specializes in trauma or who has trauma informed care as part of their profile. Go in, talk about why it's hard, why you have contained this. Where can you place this other than on your own heart?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
false sense of control doesn't make it any more real that you're not vulnerable. You may be able to talk yourself into it in a short term, but we're all vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so true. And I want everyone listening to feel empowered, not powerless, to have these conversations, to share what you're feeling and not bottle it back up, especially if things are coming up for you now. And this is a time to
Extend yourself.
extend yourself, but it's also, like, being super kind to yourself, loving yourself, and standing in your power and your truth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that sense, like, I think of the hand movements, right? Like the Wonder Woman, or the Wonder Woman, or hand movements, this
Mm-hmm.
big being big. And it's like, if you're feeling this pressure, I mean, this is a heavy conversation. So, like, feeling this, like, how can we open up our nervous system again to feel big, to feel strong? And I want to give you guys some actions to help you reclaim your well-being. It's first and foremost, and Helene said this, prioritize your health. Right? Self-care is not I mean, it is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is critical to our health. And what does that mean? That means, nurturing your mental well-being. That's a key part of prioritizing your health, is our mental health. taking time for reflection and journaling, or talking with a trusted friend or a therapist, a trusted therapist. Check the reviews.
Mm.
And when we give voice to our thoughts, we transform them into clarity. And this is so true. The third thing is building strong relationships, right? Building strong relationships so we're not isolated, we're not alone. So investing in authentic connections, whether it's family or community, these bonds sustain us through difficult times. So here you see my friend Helene Burke with me. She's in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
We were 10 years old when we met and became friends. Having strong, healthy relationships, we can talk about deep issues together with no judgment.
Yes.
And I thank you for that. The fourth thing I want to recommend is fostering your spiritual growth. For me, that's huge. Whatever your spiritual practice is, let it be a source of strength. Right? In times of uncertainty, faith is something greater. Faith in something greater, whether divine or the power of shared humanity, keeps us rooted.
And the
Even like there's
reality
no humanity around us, right?
and the reality is the world has survived before us and will survive long after us.
Yeah.
Sometimes if we look to what helps different types of beings survive, we can learn from that.
Mm. Well, and with that, the fifth point is to protect the next generation. Okay? Let us protect the next generation and those that follow. So let's advocate for safe spaces, and continue to protect children, whether through
Advocacy.
thank you, education, or simply listening. So, and truthfully, this topic for me is very vulnerable, right? And it is physiologically challenging. And I'm very passionate, in this space as I work to empower women. I have 4 daughters, and just knowing, we focus on the potential good out there and create safe spaces to ensure that good, and then leave, and create accountability and don't let go until there's, I don't know. I mean, there's prayerfully standing up for justice in this. And I just
Yes.
really want everyone to feel empowered, right? Stand tall and never be silenced. So,
Find your safe space to express yourself. Find your safe way to be kind and gentle and healing for yourself. Find a way to laugh at the things worth laughing at and to celebrate the little joy in every day.
yeah.
Some days you're going to have to look for it. It's not going to be obvious. But other days it will. And the more you do something, the better you get at it. I don't care if it's piano, crocheting, or looking for joy. So be mindful of what you're doing upstairs here and be sure that it's kind and of a generous heart and nature.
Mm-hmm.
And look for joy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. Look for joy. Look for the joy and with gratitude, right? I'm very grateful for you spending your evening with us tonight and being available. And I thank you so much for delving into this with us. And it's a sensitive topic. So I want to create safe space where people can feel like they can share and not be silenced. And then how to address the nervous system, the physiological distress that may be feeling. And so these key things that we touched on today are critically important, and it's important to keep having the conversation. Like, ask a friend, like, how are you feeling about this? What's coming up for you? And
turn off the TV.
Turn off the TV and turn off social media. Yes, I think the diversities in the world would be cured if we just shut off the TV and the social media, for sure.
An hour a day is plenty for me. I can get my world news and local events all in one package that way.
What way?
1 hour of world news and local news, and that's plenty. I'll get the meetings. If I want to look something up, I'll go and look something up reliably.
Yeah.
Safely.
I would say, like, find the oxytocin, right?
Yeah.
Find the good, what you're grateful for, the beauty, what is of good report, what is trustworthy, right? All those.
And what you can empower yourself to do. I cannot change the world. However, if I'm somewhere where I see somebody being shamed or put down, I can put my presence next to them. I can ask somebody if there's something that they need so that they can walk away from a situation. I can make sure that the person who is trying to make someone else uncomfortable can feel as the same feeling. We're all empowered for that.
Mhm. So true. So true. Well, thank you, Helene. How can people, if they want to counsel with you, how can they connect with you?
They have to move to Pennsylvania.
Okay. Number one.
Sorry. And they can look me up on Psychology Today. It is a wonderful place to screen for a provider. They have us write a very informative introduction to ourselves and how we seek to help people. And that's everywhere. You can look that up everywhere.
Excellent. So Psychology Today. All right. Thank
Hopefully,
you.
this was helpful to someone.
It is so helpful. And I think that the important piece here is that, we're not alone, right? There's always one next right step.
Yes.
And, it is about reclaiming our power in everyday life
Yes.
and creating safe space and having safe communication so that I think about this. So for me, that my children can speak to me about any issue, any concern, and we're never too old to take self-defense or some type of communication classes, and this does make a difference. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for those that are watching tonight. I appreciate you, and please let me know. You can post a comment below and share any questions or comments. I will come back and check on here and check on each and every one of you. In the meantime, I encourage you guys to really to give yourself some self-compassion during this time. Take that time to nourish yourself, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and share with a friend. So thank y'all for being here. Thank you, Helene. I appreciate you so much.
No
And
problem.
thank you again, all.